KMR's The Speed Report. This time we have Lone Paintbrush and Hair Bear, both drivers in KMR, but also analysts who are going to help figure this thing out. We're at the halfway point of this regular season, and as we go through the races we've ran so far, we'll talk about some of the things that have gone on in the season as well as predictions for the second half of the season. So we hope you enjoy the speed report this time. First, let's start with breaking news because there's a rule change in KMR that is effective immediately, and it has to do with pit stops in FM6. The pit stops generally we have on ovals. The pit road is open twice for damaged cars, or rather open twice to repair damage, pit strategy, whatever you want to call it. But on FM6, that will no longer be the case. From now on, pit road would only be open once at not only the road courses, but the ovals. This will allow for more opportunities to race, as most individuals can fix damage on their first pit stop when pit road is open the first time. So guys, what are your thoughts on the rule change and how will that benefit the guys going forward in KMR?
I like it. I like that since we can't do any setups on FM6, that we can have more time to race, more time to do more strategies, and possibly more time under green flag.
All right.
I mean, it's good to have like one pit stop and then like going more green lap runs, and it is alright though for right now.
Yeah, that was the idea when this rule came up. Some drivers have been complaining about that rule and why it's necessary to go twice around the racetrack. Now, this rule will not affect the N15 side, but many drivers has expressed their concern or their frustration with having more opportunities to race. So if you can imagine Daytona, pit road open, everyone pits, we line up, we go green, more green flag racing, more action on the racetrack. Drivers will get a chance to control their fate on the racetrack quicker, and that puts more distance between us and a white flag shootout. So I'm pretty sure everyone will appreciate that rule change. So let's get into the halfway season. Again, we've ran a lot of races thus far, and we've seen a lot of we've seen one driver kind of pull away, we've seen drivers fade in and out, we've seen good battling through the midway point, we've had some surprises. So let's kind of grade the season so far, starting with the drivers. So Paintbrush, give me your top 5 drivers right now that you think in KMR. Who's your top 5?
Nightfall, Swift, me, All Guns, and you.
Really? Now, you mentioned some interesting names so far, especially All Guns right now as your top 5, as a top 5 driver. Now, this is omitting some names, surprisingly. So what's your thoughts on why you have the top 5 that you have?
Because All Guns has improved this season. He was leading the points for a couple weeks, and he's gonna get into a mojo. He's gonna win about a couple races this season, and he's gonna get in the top 6. And for you, your good part of your season's coming now. Even though you've been having a bad beginning season, your good season's gonna happen now. Then you're gonna beat people like Speed B, and you're gonna stay like a top, in my opinion, a top 5 driver.
Okay, obviously Nightfall putting on that show. But who else did you mention? You mentioned
Uh,
Nightfall, and then you mentioned
Nightfall,
Swift.
Swift, and me
Why Swift is your top five?
because he's just fast. He got improved on road courses this season, and just doing practicing with him, you can tell he just got faster as a driver. And on N15 as well, he got faster.
Okay. Hair Bear, what about you? Give me your top five drivers so far this season.
Nightfall, uh, Ender James, uh, ED, CD, and August.
Really? Now that's a very interesting top five. So explain to me why that's your top five. One by one. Of course, Nightfall is pretty much obvious. He's dominating every race. But what about the other guys? You mentioned Ender James. What makes you feel Ender James is a top five in your pick?
Um, I mean, he led a lot of laps, getting the car in front. Um, led most couple of laps. And he has a pretty good, strong car. And
Okay. What about your other guys? You picked Ender James, and you also picked who else? You picked
all guns.
All Guns. And what's your call on All Guns? That he's in your top five.
Um, I mean, he's my teammate and all, and feeling good in the top three in points and all, but um, I just know try to do much better and try to get the team points. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, All Guns much improved as a driver. You guys are right on it. Who else did you pick? Hair Bear, you picked All Guns, Ender
He,
James. Oh, Speed B. So, uh, help us out here is why you picked Speed B in your top five.
uh, I know he has what, 2 wins, 2 poles, top 3 and 6. Doing pretty good. Front car, as always. Yeah. Getting the car in front. I know me and him had a rival that we 2 seasons ago.
But despite that rivalry, you guys are, you pick him in your top five, and then really actually a good pick because not a lot of people talk about Speed B right now. But he's sitting third in the points. He's doing really well so far, and is continuing to hang in there in that top three in points. And then you pick Speedy, who I'm pretty sure he's glad to hear you still have him in your top five. But just explain that pick for us, just why he's in your top five.
Uh, you more like working on work courses and try to get the car in front and get more laps. And try to get those points to chase.
Yeah, it's no doubt in my mind that Speedy will make the chase. And as a veteran and as our defending champion, someone who's going to be able to step it up when it counts. Okay, so we talked about our top 5 best drivers. You gave you guys top 5. Now, top 5 worst drivers. Now, this is no knock to the drivers that you pick, but drivers who are not performing well, underperforming, underachieving, not having a good year. Who's your 5 that you pick that are in that category?
Haber, you can go first if you want to.
You go first.
Alright. So, I'm gonna say, Hammer, Mordecai, Beloved, Ender, and Dunker.
Okay.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah, that's 5.
several that you have mentioned are inside of the chase marker, at least for right now. So give us the run through as to why you selected those drivers.
Okay. I selected Mordecai because he doesn't have M15 anymore. I selected Ender James because he just hasn't been having a good season. Dunker, I just really haven't seen him contend for anything good since he's been racing. And Hammer, I only saw him race like 1 race this season. He doesn't want to race any other races, which is understandably okay. But the 1 race he did race, he took me out, and that's why I don't have him in the top 5.
Okay. All right. So very interesting pick. Top 5 or top 5 worst drivers right now performing. Now this is no knock again against the drivers that were selected. There's plenty of time left in the season, and again, all of the drivers that you selected are in the top 12. So no knock against these drivers. But let's
Hammer's
talk.
not in the top 12.
Ender James is in the top 12. He's running 8th.
I said Hammer.
Oh, you said Hammer. I'm sorry. Yeah, he's 14th. So almost all the drivers that you selected. So let's talk now. Hair Bear, give me your top 5.
Nation, Mordecai, Stampy, and I don't know who's my last one.
Okay, well you got 4. That's close enough. Give me a reason why you picked those 4 drivers.
I know Stampy needs to improve himself, and make more work in out of the hot seat than going to like well Nation he a little bit more work on the road courses, ovals, and stuff like that. Uh, what was the other two that I said?
I don't know. You said them.
You said Mordecai.
Yeah, you did
Oh
say
yeah.
Mordecai.
Uh, um, Honestly, Mordecai needs to be like, don't get cocky, stuff like that. And Hammer. Um, Hammer is just right above me, over, well, yeah, underneath me in points right now. So if he wins 2 or 3 races, yeah,
You're right there. So the key is not to let him get right there. Yeah. So uh, that's an interesting pick for both of you guys. Those picks. So that's interesting to see, and we'll see. Okay, so the next question I have for you guys is for Hair Bear first. If you had to pick one driver so far, one driver that's a surprise driver that you didn't think coming into the season that they would perform like they have, overachieving, if you will, who's that one driver and why you picked him?
I would say Nightfall.
Okay.
I mean, he's a rookie and all. He's got 7 wins, 7 poles. Really doing good in the season. This first season and all. And I think he's gonna be the I think he's gonna get his first championship this season.
He certainly has the speed for it to do so. But what about you, Paintbrush? One driver that is, in your mind, maybe overachieving, or is the surprise driver you didn't suspect would do what he is doing now? Who you got?
Swift Bunny.
Right back.
And why do you say Swift?
Because he's just improved a lot this season, and he's looking. I say in the chase, he's gonna get a few wins, and he's gonna be the championship. He's gonna be the championship winner this season.
Oh, right. So Hair Bear has Nightfall. You have Swift, ironically, on the same team. And ironically, we have Swift in the studio here to chat with us a little bit. How about that? Swift, you have a copy?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right. So, well, let's take a moment to interview you because why not? You're here and the topic does come up about you. So let's take some time to interview, man. Swift, the driver of the 10, number 10,
Include your audio, Swift.
Stuart Haas
I did.
Ford. So, Swift, you've had an awesome year so far. Certainly improved from a season ago. You're sitting pretty well in points. What's the ride been like for you this season?
I don't know. I mean, considering Fractured isn't here, I feel like I have like second best. Like if you take Nightfall out, then I think I'd be the best. But considering he's here, I think I'm the second best.
How has your transition been from last season to this season? Was there anything that you said you had to try to work on or try to get better at to be as good as you are this season?
Well, I knew we definitely had to work on setups for some N15 races because we haven't performed up to par at all of them. Like Michigan, we're still pretty bad there, but there's always room for improvement. And then I felt like for the road courses, I've always been pretty good. So,
Just maintaining
like a
that
top 3
consistency.
car, top 3,
Yeah.
top 5.
Okay. So this topic comes up as a question mark. We know that you started the season this season with RCR, and you are going to finish this season with Stuart Haas. What prompted the move from RCR to Stuart Haas, and how has that move benefited you so far this season?
Well, when we brought Nightfall into the league, it was kind of the plan, but we weren't really too sure if we were gonna do it this season or next season. So I kind of just went for it to see if it worked for this season, and it ended up working. So.
And how has it benefited you? Have you noticed a change or
Um,
an improvement
I
because
think
of that?
we've ran better at most of the N15 road courses because of it, compared to last season. Because last season we weren't the best. We're not road courses, but like the N15 in general.
Yeah. Well, um,
Because things like setup help.
let's talk about title hopes now. We're at the halfway point, or we're going to be. Well, we're already a little bit over the halfway point. This weekend, we'll definitely surpass the halfway point. What's your mentality now as we surpass the halfway point? Are you thinking about Chase? Are you thinking ahead? If so, how much are you thinking ahead? Or are you thinking about Chase? Or are you thinking about getting some more wins this season? What's your mentality heading into this weekend?
This weekend alone, I definitely feel like we have a fast enough car to like win somewhere like Laguna, Sega, because throughout the practices we're about 2 seconds faster than the rest of the field. So.
Okay.
And I feel like for the season alone, I feel like you need to kind of start thinking about it, Chase, have it like in the back of your mind, but you still have to think about the races too, and try and get like the owners points championships, try and have your team not DNF and stuff, for them extra points going into the chase, because those are really important, or the bonus points, or no, do you get bonus points for winning races?
For winning races, no. Don't get bonus points,
No,
but
then
additional bonus points for leading laps and leading the most laps. Yeah.
I
Okay.
think the biggest concern is the team points at this point.
Yeah. Oh, what are your thoughts on obviously your teammate, one of your teammates at least, putting on an absolute show so far this season? He has looked, for all intents and purposes, unstoppable. Now, you're his teammate, but when the chase starts, he's your competitor. How do you, in efforts to win a title, overcome what he has done and is probably going to do in the future?
We're probably just gonna have to put more skill, or like just put more time into the game if we really want to beat him. Because Nightfall spends a hefty amount of time practicing and racing and such.
And it's evident by the results that we
Yeah.
see on the racetrack. Yeah, yeah. Well,
And I kind of saw this coming because I raced with them before, so.
well, thanks for warning everybody. You know, it was much appreciated. We didn't know until you started welling on our heads. But in any case, we appreciate Nightfall's ability. And one thing I've always said about this league is that when drivers we want more drivers like Nightfall in this league, and the reason why is because even though right now he seems unstoppable, one or two things happen for the league and for its drivers. Either number one,
I
drivers
gotta go, Cookie.
are 10-4. Either number one, drivers feel that they cannot stop the drivers that they're competing with, and so they leave, or the remaining drivers get the mentality that they want to rise to the level that is being brought to them. And so that's what we have actually seen this season. We've seen drivers like Swift, yourself. We've seen drivers like Paintbrush and All Guns and Speed B rise to the level, or attempt to rise to the level, up their game, if you will, to try to compete with this guy because of his speed. And so what happens over a period of time is he gets closer and closer in that windshield when it comes to skill and ability, because other drivers have to put in the work in order to stop a Nightfall from taking over. So we appreciate his cooperation, in his skill and ability out there, his clean racing. All of that is something that can be commended, and we look forward to continuing the second half of the season and trying to stop this guy from taking over, because he is taking over. So Swift, if you want to stick around with us for a little bit longer as we finish up the halfway point segment, we're just about to talk about team grades this season. So a A through F scale here of team grades, starting with Stewart Haas Racing. Paintbrush, if you were to grade Stewart Haas, what grade would you give him so far this season?
A. Yeah, A.
Okay. Why would you give him an A? Even though it's
Because
pretty much
Fractured
obvious.
hasn't raced any races, and Amari hasn't been in the 41 car at all since he won at the road course race.
And yet you're still giving him an A. Why?
Because the team overall won a lot of races this season.
Okay. And so from that, you mean that Nightfall has won a lot of races this season. Not taking anything away from Swift, he's got one or two, but Nightfall is obviously taking over. Okay. Does that make him, though, that team, the favorite to excel? Or is it just the individual?
I say the team. When all four drivers are in the car.
Right.
When all four drivers are in the car, then I'll give them an A+. But until I see that, it'll be an A.
Okay. All right. So Swift, your turn.
Stewart Haas.
For Stewart Haas, what's your grade?
I'd say A too, because like I feel like I became pretty fast, so life was already fast enough, so I feel like we can get a 1-2 finish if we really try and everything falls our way. And at some tracks like Homestead, we definitely had a potential to get on top 5. Or some at the 15 tracks, it's just that when some of our teammates don't race, it just kind of ruins us in team points in that factor.
Yeah, absolutely. With the presence of drivers in the car is so important, and we'll see as we'll talk about later. We have a lot of cars on roster. We'll see who shows up, but we'll get into that in a little while. All right, so let's talk about the next big team, HMS, Hendrick Motorsports. Grading, guys. Paintbrush, what you got?
C. I mean C plus.
A C plus. Now that's despite Speed B being in third in points with already a win, and that's despite them reacquiring Ender James. That's despite them having Ghost Train. You give them a C. Why?
Because Ghost barely races any races because he doesn't have N15. And Ender just joined the team and he isn't really doing anything good. He's a average kind of guy. Like I say, top 10 race car every race. Speedbee's the only one that is okay on that team, I guess. And who's in the 48 car?
You got me.
Isn't that
I
Alpha
believe
Devil or
it's
someone?
I believe it's Alpha that's in that ride or securing that ride right
And I
now.
give him a C plus because also Alpha Devil was never racing.
Yeah, Injured Motorsports has not been filling its drivers for sure. Swift, what you got for Hendrick Motorsports?
I would give him a B minus because Ender, he's usually there most of the time. It's just he has a lag issues. Pooch, he won a stage which would have locked him into the chase, but he doesn't show up anymore. Um, and Speedbee's like the main part of that team. And with Speedbee, he usually tries to make an attempt to fill the cars throughout the weekend. It's just some people don't feel like racing that he gets. So I'll give Speedbee that. And with Ender, just the lag issues. I feel like Ender would have a decent car. Because at some tracks he was pretty fast. And then like Ghost, like once again he doesn't have 15. And Alpha Devil, I have no idea what happened to him, so.
I don't think anyone knows right now. But we'll figure out one day where he went. But let's talk about Ender James for a second because we know Ender James was in the 34. He was with Hendrick Motorsports in the 5. He leaves Hendrick Motorsports at the beginning of this year, goes to the 34 car. A lot of people, including myself, question that decision, but hey, he's Ender James. Last season, he had such a big success. Do you think it hurts or helps Hendrick Motorsports to get Ender James back in the 88?
I think it helps.
It can go both ways for me.
Okay. Swift, you said it helps. How does it help?
Because it can help them improve in team points, because that's the biggest aspect to me. And it can help Ender improve as a driver himself and tell Speedbee what he knows, as well as Ender telling Speedbee what he knows about certain tracks and vice versa stuff.
Okay. And Paintbrush, you said it can go both ways. So how
Yep.
could it go bad and how could it go good?
It can go back because of his lag issue. And it can go good when he's having good runs. It's about a 50-50.
Okay. So yeah, very nice. Very nice, yay, in that. So SHRA, HMS, a C or a B, or a C, or yeah, a C or C plus or B. And so the next big team out there right now is RCR. Swift. What's your grade for RCR?
I'd say B, because Paint's been doing pretty good, except he only has one win. The team only has one win for the season. It's just the luck doesn't fall their way all the time. Like at restrictor plates, guys will usually DNF one way or another, and it's most of the time not even your fault. Or just like some, for example, like at Atlanta when you and Speedy bubbled each other. That was pretty bad. Like compared to last season I'd say they're the best team out of all of them. But now I think us is the best because of what Nightfall can do. And I think RCR has fallen behind a little, but not a
Okay.
lot.
Paintbrush. RCR's grade.
B,
Okay. Why you say B?
because we're not doing what we did last season with getting wins and being consistent. Feels like out of us three, I do want to say slash four with Swift on the team, but Swift is not on the team anymore. Let's say us three. Um, it's kind of putting a downfall on us when we're getting DNFs and like we're not competing for wins as much as we used to do. But in general, I just feel like I'm kind of carrying the team, but this is the luck isn't going our way. Like for example, Homestead, fastest car, fastest car on the racetrack, and then late race caution got me killed, and yeah, basically that's it.
Okay. So a C, a B, or a B and a B. Okay. Very interesting. Let's talk about our scraggler teams, if you will, teams with two or less drivers. Let's talk about RPM with All Guns and Hair Bear. Swift. We've seen only a little bit of RPM as a full team, but what grade would you give them at the halfway point of this season?
I'd say C plus because all guns he's really the main point of that team. Like he did surprisingly well for the beginning of the season, but as we started to hit mid-season, he just started to fall off a little. And with Hair Bear, he hasn't like raced any races, so that kind of brought the team down. Because I feel like if they're both All Guns and Hair Bear were there, it would have brought a better results on the racetrack.
Okay.
But I think Hair Bear might start showing up more, so might be good soon.
Okay. Certainly. Paintbrush, what you got?
C plus because All Guns is the main person in that team now that he moved over into that ride. Just like Swift said, Hairbear isn't showing up. So it's basically just putting a crush onto that team. That team is doing terrible with lack of finishes with this part of the season. All Guns started off doing pretty good. But now that team just died down really. They're not racing for top fives. They're racing more for like top 8, top 9s when they should be going for top 5s every race.
Definitely. A question for you guys. Now we know that last season, we know Hair Bear was the team captain. Obviously, was one of the only drivers on the team. And so then All Guns comes over in this deal, leaving the 21, transitioning to the 9, and becomes the team captain. And here's the question: do you think that All Guns being the team captain this season has hurt or helped this team?
Hurt.
I don't think it really affected the team.
Paintbrush, you said it hurt the team. How does it hurt the team?
Because I feel like KMR would be coming more, because he probably likes to run his team, but he kind of got forced to give it up to all guns. But yeah, that's basically it.
Okay. And you, Swift, you said it really wouldn't affect the team. Why would you say that?
Well, because like Hair Bear, he hasn't like really shown up this season and last season. All he really did was show up to team practices. So, I mean, there's like All Guns is still trying to show up to team practices and stuff. You guys have them, so I'd say it's still kind of the same. And I feel like All Guns, he tries to remind Hair Bear about the race, and actually puts an effort to contacting the teammates. And I'm not sure if Hair Bear did that or not last season.
Okay.
So.
Okay. Very, very interesting. You go both make valid points in that one. So, RPM definitely with room for improvement. Let's talk about our next kind of small team out there, Roush Racing. We haven't seen a whole lot of Roush Racing this season, but the fact that we've seen any at all this season is a miracle. What grade would you give their performance in the races that they have ran so far this season?
F.
Okay. Give us an idea on why it's an F.
Because they don't show up to the races.
Okay. Well, with their roster, the way they are, with the roster that they have, let's assume that they showed up to at least 2/3 of the first half of the season, so missing only 2 or 3 races, would you still give them an F, or where do you think they would be in the scale?
Probably a C. C.
Okay. And that C comes from possibly their performance?
Yeah,
on the
their
track?
performance.
Okay. Swift, we need to hear from you. What do you think?
For say they did race like at least 1/3 the season or whatever, I'd say C plus, because C Nation looks to be decent at N15. Looks to be like maybe a top 5 car depending on how he can do, and the teammate is 16 car. I don't really know how he would do on 15. But I know for road courses, they definitely need improvement. Like, or not road courses, but like just Forza Motorsport 6 in general.
Yeah, I would.
But based off of how I'd seen them do on 15, I'd say they would be pretty decent on 15.
Okay. So a very low grade for Roush. We need to see more out of Roush for that grade to improve. Maybe, possibly, they could be a surprise team of this year. We don't know. Let's talk about one team before we move on to our last team. That's Team Penske again. We haven't seen a whole lot, but from what we did see and what we do know is that Fracture Chain started with Team Penske this season at the Daytona race that he ended up winning, the Daytona 500, before making his move to Haas. So we also know that Slothy was racing, but has not raced a whole lot due to some unforeseen circumstances. He looks to return this season, or rather this weekend, to action in that 2 car. So, is there anything? Can we grade this team with? If so, what letter grade would you give this team so far?
Oh,
I
that's
mean,
what you want to do.
Slothy's locked into the chase, so I'd say like B minus, because like considering what happened to him, it's really not in his leeway. You can't really like base his grade off of that. You can only base his grade off the races he's run, and he did win a stage during the 500. So
I have to go with the same Celso said. Same grade on that.
Okay. So a higher grade than some of these other teams. Very interesting. Team Penske, though, has some work to do. Obviously, when you look at talent-wise, the loss of Fracture on the 22 was a big deal. But seeing what has happened so far this season was for Slothy to be by himself right now. Is that going to help him or hurt him in the long run this season?
I mean, I honestly think he might still be getting help from Fractured, so I don't really know.
There's no comment on that one.
Okay. So we'll get a chance to see what they bring or what he brings to the table here in the near future, starting with this weekend's races. And guys, just to let you know, this has been the Speed Report halfway point. And we upcoming races this weekend: Mazda and Catalunya, the two shorter road courses of KMR, as well as Dover, the track we will visit up to 4 times this season, but the only visit we'll have in the regular season for the Funland 250 at Dover. So we look forward to that race as well as the other 2. Our final team that we have to talk about before we move forward is Germain Racing, and that 13 car for Beloved. Grades, guys, on the 13 car.
See, because he's been like a 7th place car most of the season. Lately, he hasn't shown up to the races, so. I mean, unfortunately, he got DNF'd at Daytona. That could have been a pretty good track for him, but unfortunately got DNF'd, so. But Beloved hasn't shown the most speed on Forza, and he's been like a 6th place car on N15, so.
Paintbrush, your thoughts on the 13?
He definitely has room to improve. It's like Swift said, he's better on N15 and Forza. He needs work on Forza. But N15 he can run solidly top 5, between top 5 and top 8. But and like sometimes he'll take strategies to stay out and lead a couple of laps, which is good. But yeah, Forza is the most work he needs on. But overall, he's a mediocre driver.
Yeah, I would agree with that statement. Germain Racing,
You forgot a
gets
team.
to see. What team did I forget?
Chip Ganassi.
That's
And
right,
Levine
the
Family
42
Racing.
and the 1.
And Levine Family Racing.
The 95. I'm not going to do the 95 because there hasn't been enough races logged for them. The same reason why I haven't done Joe Gibbs. But I will do Chip Ganassi because there's been plenty of races for them. And while they lost one driver, and Mordecai, who has stated that he is not going to race anymore this season, so why we have not been seeing him. They also gained or continue to maintain a driver, and that is the 1 car of the White Hammer. So guys, grades on Chip Ganassi Racing and what they have done this season.
I'm gonna have to go for a little
Honestly,
bit on
as
this
of
one.
now, F.
Yeah, I was gonna say D minus.
Okay.
Because like Hammer, he had unfortunate luck at Richmond when he had a top 3 car and he got trapped a lap down. But besides that, Hammer hasn't really ran any races, so, and he doesn't have Forza Motorsport 6, so, and unfortunately Mordecai stopped racing because of some reasons, and that kind of just brought the team down a lot more.
Uh, um, do you guys think that Hammer will be able to get Chip Ganassi into the playoffs before they start?
I mean, honestly, Hammer has the potential. I thought he was pretty fast at Richmond. I thought he could probably go to toe with Nightfall. Like if he races this weekend, I think he has a pretty good chance at Dover to pull something out.
Okay, what are your thoughts, Paintbrush, on Hammer's ability to get Chip Ganassi into the playoffs once again? I mean, we are talking about a 5-time series champion. With that kind of experience, can he get himself into the chase?
It's gonna be hard, but he's gonna have to beat Nightfall to do it. Definitely has the talent for it.
Okay, that's a team we're definitely going to have to keep our eyes out on. All right, I got a question for you guys. So far in the first half of this season, we've ran 2 restrictor plates. We've ran a handful of road courses. We ran a couple mile and a halves. We've ran Michigan to death. What's been so far your favorite race?
I'd say either Daytona or Atlanta, because Daytona had a pretty exciting finish with a really long time veteran win finally, his first 500. So I'd say that was a pretty good story, and there's a lot of drivers there. And I'd say Atlanta for the simple fact that it had a pretty exciting last lap finish. Or it basically had a green-white checkered, and it had a exciting green-white checkered finish.
Okay. And for our viewers here that are wondering about the Atlanta race, don't worry, it will be posted tomorrow. So stay tuned for that. You'll get a chance to see what he is talking about, I hope. All right, so what about you and Paintbrush? You have to look back on any race so far that has been the best race. Which one would you say?
I would say Homestead, but complications happened with few laps to go. But I'm gonna have to say Daytona on FM6. That was Paintbrush Paints 500. It was a good race. Can't go wrong with my name being the sponsor of the race. But yeah, I mean, it was a fun race, seeing a lot of people up front. And at the end, it was with like 5 cars left in the race battling for it. Fractured, me, Ender, all Guns and Pooch all battling for the win. That was some good racing right there, all the way to the end.
I would agree. It was fun watching that race. Watching and not driving in it, unfortunately. But we're not going to go there right now. But yeah, definitely. I look back at the races though. I think my favorite race was the Bernice Alps race, just for the simple reason that it was our not to mention it was our first road course, but it was a really fun, fast road course. And I thought for a minute there it was going to be really, really bad. But there were several areas where if someone wrecked, they were going to take out everybody behind them, especially on the start of the race with everybody bunched together. But after everything spread out and we got spread out and started running that race, that was a very, very fun race to run. Well, the whole thing went green. So seeing the strategy, because it came down to strategy at the end, was fun. It was just all in all really fun circuit to drive. It wasn't too taxing on the driver or the car, and it just came down to skill level at that time, and so at that point, and so it was really fun despite the screw up that I had during the middle of the race. It was still really, really fun. All right, so obviously we're at the halfway point, so we're getting geared up for the chase. Give me your second half season predictions. Swift, what's your predictions on what's going to happen in the second half of this season?
I say Cookie Monster and either Cookie Monster or Speedy gets a win. I'm not saying both of them gets a win. I'm saying definitely one of them gets a win. I say we see Fraction return. I'm not sure when, but I say we see him return for a race. I say we see Slothy run pretty competitively, pretty good. I don't think he'll get another one, but I think he'll maybe edge out a top 3. Definitely a top 5. Now I say we see Nightfall win some more races.
Yeah, I think that's a safe prediction, huh?
Yep.
Okay. What about Swift? What about some attendance? We've averaged around 8 to 10 drivers out of a 16-man league so far. We know, extenuating circumstances have kept quite a few of our regulars away from the track. So, what do you think about the attendance for the second half of the season? Will it remain the same, go up, or go down?
I say maybe this week. I think we might see it fluctuate to maybe 1 or 2 more people since Slothy's coming back, and you never know if Fractured comes or not. And then going into the chase, I say we see it go down a little because people that don't make the chase, especially in the round of 6, I say we only have around 8 drivers because the people that aren't in the round of 6 and the round of 4 probably won't race.
And that'll be a big thing for them because, of course, we know the points battle will lock themselves into the next season. Each round that someone's eliminated, they're thrown into that battle. So does that person want to take the gamble of not having to run the qualifier again if they plan on running the next season? So we'll see what happens there. Paintbrush, what about you, man? What's your second half predictions coming into second half of the season?
Stuart Haas is going to dominate, and RCR is going to get a couple more wins. And then when the chase comes, it's going to be between a few drivers. I say me, you, Speedy, Swift, Nightfall, and all guns make the final 6. We're all going to battle. I don't even think is there a final 6 this season?
It's a final 4. The final 4 this season.
Final 4. So for the final 4, I'm going to have to say Nightfall, Swift, me, and Cookie, we're all gonna battle for it all at the end of it, and it's gonna be a hectic second half trying to find speed, and I know for a fact my car, and when the chase comes, there'll be a lot more people on their feet, and the attendance will go up heavily. Yeah.
Okay. A lot to look forward to in the second half. Predictions, a lot to look forward to. A lot of racing, quite a few restrictor plates before the chase. Another visit to Indy. Several more road courses. A trip to Texas. Another trip to Michigan. And so we have a lot of racing to look forward to start the second half of the season. Again, guys, Mazda Raceway Catalunya to start the weekend, and then we finish out with Dover this Saturday, 7:30 Eastern. It will be broadcasted on 105 The Drive and on Twitch. So or stay tuned or be tuned in for that. All right,
The
final
racing will be on my
category,
Twitch.
final racing. Yeah. Final category here is we've got guys that are on the bubble right now for the chase. It's going to start to become a big deal. We've got guys that are on the bubble when it comes to being able to race in this season. It's going to be a big deal. Right now, on the bubble, you have Dunker in 11th place. You have Hair Bear in 13th, Hammer in 14th, Amari in 15th, C Nation in 16th. That's on the bubble for the top 12 because C Nation's only 62 points outside of the top 12. And then for your drivers that are in the hot seat position that are trying to get into the season, Ghost in the hot seat position with 79 points outside of the top 12. Pooch in the hot seat position. Jab there. Stampy there. Slothy is, even though he's locked in right now because of the circumstances in which he had to or had stuff going in. If he races this weekend now, he would have to get himself into that position to be able to run because he was overtaken by other drivers. So he has a lot of pressure on him to perform really well, and others. So who is in out of the drivers on the bubble or outside? Who you got in to the top 12 before when the chase starts, and who you got out of the top 12 when the chase
All
starts?
right. The top 12, I got Nightfall, Swift, Paintbrush, Cookie, Oregon, Speed B, Speedy, Ender James, obviously Mordecai because of the points, how he's far up. Beloved, Fracture Chain, and Slothy.
So you got Slothy getting in and staying into the chase.
Yep.
Interesting. Okay. So really your top 12 is not going to change much. The only driver that's outside of your top 12 is Dunker. You're swapping Dunker out with Slothy. Okay. Swift, who you got getting in? Who you got going out?
Nightfall, Swift, Speed B, Paintbrush, Cookie, All Guns, Speedy Driver, Ender, Fractured, Hammer, Slothy, and Hair Bear.
Okay, so you got that first group that is going to get their spot in.
Yeah.
And you're subbing out Beloved, Dunker. And that seems to be it. Beloved and Dunker and Mordecai, you're subbing out of this group.
Yep.
Okay. Oh, something to
Beloved,
look forward
I'd
to.
say if he races, then he's definitely gonna get in. But I'm not sure if he's gonna race, so.
Okay. All right. What about some of these guys here? I see Amari, if he races with the speed that he showed, definitely could be a threat. And I think that man, when you look at what Ghost can do, I thought for a second there that even though we still have a couple more races here. Ghost put together a string of good finishes there at Catalunya as well as Mazda. Ghost could be somebody who can get into that top 12. The only problem is you got a handful of N15 races before the chase starts. So really a tough stretch for him. And one more person I think that's could be sneaky if he commits to racing this season. We've seen spots of him where he'll come in, he'll race, he'll leave for a while, but I tell you, if the driver of the 20 car commits to running the second half of the season, he is a champion, and I think that he is fast enough to earn enough points to overtake quite a few of these drivers and find himself inside of the top 12. That's Jab. I think Jab could definitely find himself in the top 12, but of course would have to commit to running the second half of the schedule. So a lot of question marks. We'll have to see what happens.
I know Jab is pretty fast at 15. When I used to race with them back then. I'm not sure if he has Xbox 360 anymore.
And so, see, that's the question. What will he be able to do? What will circumstance allow him to do? So, a lot to look forward to in the future. And so, we'll leave it at that. What's to look forward to? Well, look forward to the broadcasting or the rebroadcasting of races already ran, especially the FM6 races. You've seen some of them already in this clip, but you will see a broadcast specific to these races as well as the races for N15. And then we'll get ready for this weekend's races to come. Catalunya, Laguna, and Dover. Well, we thank Swift for joining us, Paintbrush for joining us, Hair Bear, we thank you for popping in and helping us out. This has been Cookie and the Speed Report, and we'll have another episode soon. But in the meantime, we say, see you later.